So it's been a while since we've had a comedy in theaters, and here we have a family comedy film that is a Christian film directed by Brian Cates. And he's done some short films and he's also done a Christmas TV series, but this is pretty much his directorial debut. I'm going to give you my thoughts next in this review. But before we get to that, I'd like to ask, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, give the video a like, and comment below. Are you interested in seeing this film? And let me know down in the comments what you thought about this film. And also turn on the notification bell so you never miss any videos that I make. I post weekly reviews and also do Blu-ray hauls as well. But now without further ado, let's get into the review. When two polar opposite families are forced to camp together, the dads struggle to hold onto their families and marriages as they compete for the coveted camp trophy. The film stars Tommy Woodard, Eddie James, Lee Allen Baker, Gigi Orsillo, Cece Kelly, Jacob Wade, Elias Kemuel, and Kesley Blaylock. So going into family camp, it really wasn't a movie that I really was that excited for. I thought the trailer looked very mild, and it really reminded me of back in 2020 when we got The War with Grandpa, how that was a very safe family kind of movie. And this film is very safe, but I feel like it's more safer than The War with Grandpa because this is made by the Skit guys and they are a faith-based kind of studio. So going into this, I really didn't have the highest hopes because most Christian kind of films, let's be honest, a lot of them are really cheesy and just over the top. And I really wasn't that excited about this movie. But the things that I did like about this movie is I did like the Don't Cry No More in the intro. That song I did really enjoy. There are a couple other songs that I did enjoy about this film. As far as this film was shot, it doesn't feel like it's a low budget film in the way that it's shot. It's not really magnificent the way it's shot, but it works for what this film is going for. And then I also thought that the acting isn't that bad in this film. I don't really feel like nobody really was overacting or didn't act well enough. I thought that everybody that acted in this did a pretty decent job. But I do have to say, going into this film, I really just thought that the comedy would not land in this film, and that's exactly how this film is. The comedy is not very funny. I only had 3 other people in my screening and nobody laughed the entire time. I can say that I probably mildly chuckled to a few jokes, and when I mean mildly, I mean mildly. It just really wasn't a funny film. Most of the jokes that they do have in this, they're in the trailer, and in that trailer, I don't think I really laughed really at all. There's very mild jokes in that trailer. The film really centralizes on this father named Tommy. He's really busy with work all the time, and the movie starts off with him on his phone. He's on the phone with his work, and he's late for church, shows up to church late, and his wife is not really happy about it. She really wants him to be more a part of the family and not so much into work. And then they announce this whole camp, and they decide that they're going to do this camp. And on the way to the camp, you really find out that the wife and husband are a little bit disconnected. The brother and sister, they are pretty much driving each other nuts in the car. And then they have this wacky kind of guy actually cut them off, and he gets ticked off about it. And when they arrive at the camp, Tommy meets this family that cut them off. You have Eddie, played by Eddie James. He meets them, and you can tell that they're a very much close-knit family. He has a wife, a daughter, and a son, and they're very much in spiritual kind of beings and very much opposite of Tommy's family, the Ackermans, as they're not very much spiritual and not really together as a family. And they end up going to live in this, it's called like a yurt. It's kind of like a low-end kind of cabin. And when they're in this cabin, they have these gerbils that they bring in, and they also have this harmonica. Eddie loves to play music, and he really annoys them with that. Then, of course, they pray, and that really ticks off the Ackerman family, and then he tries to copy them. And then the first kind of half of the movie, it really shows the families competing in these different games to win this trophy of family camp. They have like a game where they play archery, and they have another game where they're in these little plastic little sheets and they are playing soccer, and they end up losing that game. And then they have archery, which the Ackermans end up winning that game. So that really is where the competing of games really stop, and that's where the movie kind of spreads out, and you have these two fathers, they get lost in the woods, and you kind of learn about the marriages with the two women, but they really kind of don't really do a good job of really meshing all the characters' stories in this. I felt the children in this story were pretty much a waste, especially Eddie's children. They really aren't in the film that much. You know, you see in the beginning that they really have a little bit of a faith-based relationship. There is one part where they're really mean to the Ackermans kids, but I really didn't think they really did anything else in this film, and they pretty much just kind of disappear and don't really come back until the end of the film. So those characters were a waste. And then as far as the Ackerman kids go, you have the son who is really obsessed with Bigfoot. He goes to look for Bigfoot in the woods, and that's pretty much what his character does most of the time in the film. And then you have the daughter who pretty much is just kind of wandering throughout the camp, and she seems like she has a love interest, but that kind of fails, and that's really not much of a story either. So the kids in this were kind of a waste to me. I really just didn't think they did enough with them in this. And then I felt the wives, you know, they're really prominent in the beginning and towards the middle of the film, but as the film really gets to the meat and potatoes of the story and what it's going to be about, I thought that the moms really were just kind of a waste. You know, they had problems within their marriage, but that's really about it in the story. And then really the story really focuses on these two fathers, how they're lost in the woods, and then they have these other two hunters that are in the woods looking for Bigfoot. I don't know, I just didn't really care for the plot in this. They really tried to shoehorn some Jesus kind of things in here, but I don't really think it's too much preachy, but that's kind of like the message that they have, especially towards the end of the film. And the message in this film really was trying to reflect on yourself and what things you can do to better and improve yourself. So I thought that that message was good, but at the same time, the story to really get to that point, it really wasn't that interesting. I felt myself getting kind of bored because the last like 2/3 of the story is just really focusing on these two dads, and they really don't focus on all the other characters. They just kind of go away, and then they all kind of show up at the end, especially with the camp as well, because they really were trying to introduce like the pastor and all the different camp like counselors and stuff, but they really just kind of push them away and don't really put them much into the story, and they abandon these whole games that they're trying to compete in to get this trophy. So I just really thought that that was a big waste. I also felt that the jokes in this, they weren't very funny. It just seemed like really kind of kiddish kind of jokes, like not even like funny like certain kind of animation films. It's like really low grade and really nothing really too funny. Most of like the jokes are pretty much in the trailer. There really isn't really much else that they really have as far as jokes in this. And then I also felt that when the story kind of wraps up and we get like the centralized message for this, I definitely get what they were trying to go for, but I just think that the execution wasn't that good and the story in general wasn't that interesting. So it's going to be really hard to kind of recommend this film. I really think that if you do want to watch this film, I would definitely stream it. It's not really a film that I would go out to the theater and go watch. It really plays out more so like a TV kind of movie that you would just catch on, you know, just some random network, probably like during the day or something, or maybe like a Netflix kind of movie. It really felt like that. And I just don't really have anything else, really much else to say about this movie. I didn't really like this movie at all. Few things, like I said, that I did like about it, but I would give a score of this film a 1.5 out of 5. It's not very good, it's not very entertaining, it's not funny, and the story was just really a letdown. And I thought that most of the characters aren't really kind of fleshed out in this, and it was just really a letdown. It was a very underwhelming film that really just didn't really capitalize on much of a story. I really thought that we would get a little bit of mild chuckles, a little bit more funnier kind of jokes. Even though it is kid friendly, I expected a little bit better jokes, and we really just don't get very good writing in this film. Let me know down in the comments, did you like this film? Are you going to see this film? Have you even heard about this film? There really wasn't really any advertisement or trailers for it, so I'll be interested in the comments what you thought about this film. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next review.